Welcome to Coffee and Conversation. My name is Honorine, and today I'm with Jorge Galeano Cabral, who is pursuing a PhD in mechanical engineering. Jorge, thank you for being with me today.
Hello, Honorine. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to share this space with you.
Let's start with a little introduction.
I am from a small country in South America called Paraguay. It's a landlocked country right in the center of South America. And I am from a city called Ciudad del Este, which means City of the East. That city is right at the border with Brazil and Argentina. So I grew up in a triple border environment, pretty much. So I was literally a bridge away from Brazil and another bridge away from Argentina. So yeah, there you can pretty much have breakfast in Paraguay, lunch in Brazil, and dinner in Argentina in the same day, for example. I always had a strong attraction towards math and technology in general. I lived in basically right next to the most powerful hydroelectric dam in the world, which is Itaipu. So that's pretty much a magnet of interest of people towards engineering, because I remember visiting that dam for the first time, for example, and just like being amazed about like what human being can accomplish, with knowledge, because that hydroelectric dam supplies excuse me, supplies electric energy for the whole country, and it only needs around 10% of what it actually produces for that side of the country. So yeah, that's how I got myself into engineering. I started a bachelor's in first of all in electromechanical engineering in a university that was right next to the hydroelectric dam, with professors that were working for that company. During my second year of that program, I wasn't feeling really, I would say, fulfilled, and something was like missing in that program, and it was I figured out it was the cultural diversity. I mean, I needed to have that contact with international people. I needed to have that contact with people from other countries, from to like to know other cultures and to see how the world really is. So and I happened to found a new university being open in Brazil, in the city that was like right next to my city. So it was a new project, a new university called Federal University for Latin American Integration. So the name itself already like caught my attention. Wow, I mean, the idea of the university is to bring together Latin America. So it was a university that was like holding people from all around Latin America, pretty much. So I decided to just quit the electromechanical engineer and just go start fresh. And they had a program that I really liked. It was renewable energy engineering. So I was like, oh, that's the right program. I feel like it's gonna be the right environment for me because I needed more than just studying engineering. So I went to Brazil there, and it was, I got a scholarship from the Brazilian government. So that's something also that's important to me because my family can't really afford school. So everything I did so far was through scholarships and fellowships, and so I started there my energy engineering program, and that was what I was looking for. It was an awesome program with people all around Latin America, and I started seeing the world differently there. You know how culturally rich the world is. After graduating from college, I I needed more. So I mean, I started first working at a laboratory there with one of my professors. So it was a material science laboratory. So I already started learning uh, the usage and maintenance of some systems for material science research. And this professor was encouraging me, of course, to apply for grad school. He was like, yeah, I mean, I love having you here, but I wanted to apply to grad school. I just wanted to be working here as a lab assistant while you apply, while you get something. So that's how I started applying for so many programs, so many options, of course, trying to get some sort of scholarship. And one of the options was Fulbright. Okay, I was applying for Fulbright among other scholarships around the world. Anyways, I decided to pursue my master's degree in the US. I was gonna get a master's in sustainable energy there, which is basically a continuation of what I was doing in undergrad, because my focus was always renewable energy. And during the program, my advisor convinced me to just stay for a PhD. I started working at a lab by the time I decided to stay for a PhD.
So one thing that I find surprising is that you're doing a PhD in mechanical engineering, but you're very into, as you said, renewable energy. And so I'm not familiar with that field, but shouldn't you be pursuing a PhD in electrical engineering?
Yeah, that's a good point. The things like the concept of energy in general, it's something broader than just electricity. For example, when we talk about energy, we can also like talk about heat, and heat as a form of energy can be associated with thermal science, which can be associated to mechanical engineering, for example. So so it's engineering itself. The branches at the end are all interconnected.
And what is your research specifically on?
I focus on thermoelectric devices. So that's basically the direct conversion between heat to electricity. And that process is called thermoelectricity. So there are devices that can do that, and that's amazing. And then I found out that that's the technology that, for example, the Mars rovers uses, or like deep space exploration satellites, because they cannot rely on the sun because they're going too far away from it. So they need something else to power themselves. So it's thermoelectric technology what these deep space exploration devices use. So basically, these devices, what make them possible to do this conversion is a material inside. It's like a semiconductor inside, and those materials are called thermoelectric materials. So these things, they sound amazing. So why aren't we seeing this everywhere? Like, where are they then? If these sound like so awesome. So the problem is that they're not efficient enough comparing to other things. So the problem is the material. Okay, so how do we solve that? By finding other materials. So what I do is at the lab, I synthesize new materials, materials that haven't been reported yet, so and that's something that I love, because I feel like sometimes as an alchemist, like I'm making something new here. I'm the first person in the whole world to see this material, even if this doesn't do anything, I created something, so that feeling is like amazing. So what I do is I synthesize new materials, and then I measure the thermoelectric properties to see if this material is good for what I want to produce electrical energy, pretty much. And it's just like cooking, okay, this is the recipe, these are the elements, you have your oven there, which is like the furnace. Okay, start making new crystals. So that's the first step of the research, making new crystals. Okay. Second step, measuring all the physical properties of that crystal to see if that does something interesting.
Wow, that's fascinating, this research. I love the fact that, as you said, you're creating something new, which makes it purposeful and easier to wake up to, I guess, in the morning.
That's true. But yeah, it can be very frustrating. I mean, yeah, it's not always just exciting. I mean, a lot of the time, the growth, that's how we call it, when we synthesize, the growth doesn't work a lot of the time. You know, it's just like put things there and they don't combine with each other. Those elements don't like each other. It's just like there's nothing there. So it's like a lot of trial and error.
So I see you wearing a Cox shirt. And I know you're also part of HICSA, the Fellow Society. You're part of many different organizations on campus. Can you tell me why it's important for you to be part of all those different organizations?
So the way I see leadership, it's a way to serve, basically. You know, it's a way to serve community. It's a way to give back what you're receiving. So, as a particular case, before I even arrived to Tallahassee, the Hispanic Graduate Students Association, known as HICSA, they offered themselves to like pick me up from the airport. They helped me find housing. They helped me with so many things that made super easy to adapt in this city, and that feeling of uh, that feeling of being like grateful, you know, that made me start participating more in the board itself of that organization. So then I became the president of the Hispanic Graduate Students Association, and and during that period, we of course organized so many events on campus, off campus. I connected with so many people. Funny story. That's how I met the scientist that connected me with the Mag Lab. You know, because I was at a Higgs event and this person was there. You know, I thought it was just like one more student. You know, he was just like there, cool, chilling with us. You know, and I was like, so what do you do? And he was like, oh yeah, I'm a scientist at the Mag Lab. I'm like, what?
Wow.
And I was like, so what do you guys do there? That's how I started conversation with him, and I found out that there is a group that works with thermoelectricity at the lab, and this person connected me with that. You know, so it's not only about serving. Well, it's mainly about serving, but then you do like networking somehow.
Why is your Hispanic background important to the pursuit of your graduate degree?
To begin with, the Hispanic um, culture itself is like the Hispanic culture is diverse itself. You know, like when you think about Hispanic or Latino, we're talking about a block of so many countries, and we share a lot of things in common, yet we're so different. You know, sometimes we make jokes about, I don't know, words that we don't really know. I mean, sometimes I would talk with someone that's also from South America, and we just like wouldn't understand each other, and we're both speaking the same language. You know, like what are you talking about? I don't know what that is. So you'll be surprised to know like how many different ways you can say the term popcorn in Spanish. For example, you can just Google it. Like, how do you say popcorn in Spanish? Well, every country has their own way to say it, you know, and that's the same thing for like so many things. And that's so funny, and that's like it makes you think, you know, like how diverse the Hispanic culture itself can be. And that diversity um gives you resilience pretty much, you know, like normally Hispanics, they're known to like adapt easily to changes, you know, because change change is part of the culture. You know, you're like facing changes like every day, every time. It's part of what we are pretty much. um and I will also say like that my Latino background like always helped me to, I don't know, see the bright side of things, you know, like always like smile to life, to problems, to always like be grateful, you know. So that's also something that characterizes Hispanic people too. We seem that we're always happy no matter what, you know. There are so many stereotypes about Hispanic people just like wanting to party, you know, and like known for like parties and stuff, but like actually like deep down it has more to do with just like being grateful and being happy with life. That's part of the culture itself. And that, I mean, that helped me not only like pursuing a PhD, but that helped me like in general, in life in general. So it's a good way to face difficulties, to face barriers.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time in this great conversation. It was a pleasure to get to know you better.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. Thank you so much for this space.